Hello and welcome to this video module on Financial Modeling Best Practices, Part 2. In this module, we're going to talk about shortcuts and speed, whereas in the previous module we talked more about style. I've got a couple links on this page because some of us are probably working on PCs and others may be on Macs. Most banks you'll find will probably be on the PC, but these links can be used to find lists, Microsoft approved lists of keyboard shortcuts for Excel, the latest version of Excel. Let's flip over to Excel and see some of these in action. First ones I want to go through are some of the F keys, the function keys at the top of the keyboard, and depending on your version you'll see that these are attached to a lot of predetermined functions. You can do an undo, cut, copy, paste. I'm going to leave the cut, copy, paste for some command keys later. But the F keys that I like to use are F5, and this, again, I'm working in Mac. You'll have to see the PC ones if they're different, which is a go to, and I can tell it to go to a certain cell, or I could, if I had some names defined, ranges defined, we could do that. There's the F7 key, which will function as a spell check. And then the F8 key does what's called an extend selection. If you see, if I highlight, say, a few cells, and then I break away for a sec, and then if I want to extend the range, well, if I hit down, I lose that. So if I go like this, and then hit F8, it lets me extend my range. Rarely used, but handy when you do need it. F9 is a calculation, forces a calculation, comes into play in big models where you may have data tables that are calculating manually. You may choose that function just because if they calculate all the time with every change you made, it can slow things down. The other two F keys that I use a lot are F11, which shows the desktop, and F12 in the Mac, which shows the dashboard. Let me show you a couple other things. So I'm just going to type a few numbers out, and I'll make something how about this? We'll do a sum here. Well, if I want to change this formula, and I'm working in a model, the fastest way for me to do it is to avoid using the touchpad or the mouse. And so that's going to be a common theme with a lot of these shortcuts. So one of my favorites, and here in the Mac, and I think it's F2 if you're in the PC world, but in Mac it's Control U, and that brings me into the formula, into the edit bar here. So I can have it be plus. If I wanted to make a simple edit, I just go Control U, and I'm in there, rather than having to grab my mouse and hone in either on the cell or on the formula bar. All right, so that's one of my favorites. Another one is the function whereby we anchor a cell or anchor certain references. So let's just look at that. Again, I'm going to use Control U to get in there, and then Command T. And it flips through various forms of anchoring. The full, so anchor the row and the column, anchoring just the row, anchoring just the column, and nothing. So that's a very useful one. Another one of mine, and we'll talk about some toolbar items later, but you can see I've customized my toolbar. But for now, I want to just tell you about the buttons for making the toolbar active. In Mac, it's Option F10, and you can see if you keep your eye up in this corner, you'll see that gets highlighted. So Option F10. My toolbar is now active, and I can now scroll around. If I want to, let's say, have a yellow highlight, a lot quicker. For me, it's a lot quicker to do that than to grab the mouse and go there. And we could also, let me show you how to get down to the next toolbar, Control Tab. So you can see if you look up here, I'm flipping between the two lines. And then I just navigate around with the arrow keys. If I'm all the way on the left and I hit left further, I come around to the other side. Likewise, I go up top, I hit left, and I come around to the far right. Probably one of the most useful is the command for flipping between sheets, and that is Option and left-right arrow key. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm just Option right, Option left. Again, much quicker than going and using the mouse or the keypad. And I actually don't have another window open, but if we did, you could see by clicking on window, usually I'd have to do this to choose between. You could also use Command F6, which would take me to the next window. Again, I don't have one open, so we can't do that right now. Another handy one, Control A opens the formula builder. And I got a button for it that we'll discuss later. Next one that I like to go is another shortcut like that. Command 1 opens the format box, and we could then hit Control Tab to move across, and we could use our arrow keys and tabs to move around in there. Just a way of avoiding using those keypads and touchpads and mouse. Just a few of the standards. Command B for bold, Command I for italic, Command U for underline. Those are just some of the standards. Another one of the standards, Control C, Command C, Command V for paste. So you want to get very quick at your copy and paste, especially as we talked about in the best practices before. We're going to type a formula once and copy it all the way across a row. Well, copy and paste should become second nature to you. We could also do what's called a paste special. So if I want to copy that one, suppose I just want to copy the format. I can do Command Control V, and then that brings me into the paste special menu. And I even know that I've hit Command V, it brings me to values. So I'm just pasting the value 4 rather than pasting the format, the yellow background. I just pasted a value. Similar to cut, we're going to want copy, Command X, and paste. I'm going to undo that, and you can see I just use Z. So if we do something where I am copying, I can use Command Z to undo. You have undo and redo. Those are very popular ones. Let's do a formatting one. Command E, center something. Command L, left, justify. Command R, right, justify. Even better one for you, a really useful one. We're going to flip through some date, percentage, and dollar formats with our Control Shift. You can see, and we're flipping through the number key here. Control Shift 1 gave us 2 decimals. Control Shift 2 a time. Control Shift 3 a date. Control Shift 4, which you can see the dollar signs above the 4 is dollars. Control Shift 5, which has the percentage sign, gives us percentage. So those are just very quick ways you can see to change the format on something. Another great formatting time saver is Command Option 0. It gives us an outline, and we can undo that with the key next to 0. Command Option minus, gone. So 0 to format, gone. You can see we could do it very quickly. 0, whoops, sorry about that, and gone. Control S, save, that's a key one. Control Q, quit. Control W to close the windows. There are some for hiding rows as well here in the Mac. So let's say we want to hide, we're going to hide this row that says key assumptions. We're going to say Control 9, Control Shift 9 to undo it. Likewise, we can do it with columns. We want to hide the J column here. Control 0. We just add a shift to that. Control Shift 0 to undo it. Okay, so those are some of the really key commands. I know I breezed through them here. I recommend going to those links that we showed here, or just Googling Excel keyboard shortcuts and your version of Excel, and you'll find some. I sometimes keep a printed list by the side of my computer that I can refer to, but some of them are definitely worth memorizing. Let's just talk about the toolbars. So Excel is great. It lets you customize the toolbars, and I'm using my cursor just up top here. I am not a big fan of using the ribbon. You may want to. To me, I'd rather just put the functions up in the toolbars. So what I'm doing is I'm just right-clicking, and it says Customize Toolbars. And you can do that, drop in, change the order of things. So I tried to put some of my most useful up, and especially on the edges. So let me show you something here. If I have a cell and I want to copy. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4 special formats. It's got bold, italic, underline, and a yellow background. Well, let's say I've got another number here and I want to copy that format. Well, I am going to hit my Command C to copy and then Option F10 to get up in my toolbar, and I'm hitting return. That first key is my paste formatting. So that's one that I use all the time. Like you can see, I've got my next one in is the background color. So I'm Option F10, I'm moving in, and now I can quickly change that color. Similarly, my third one in, Option F10, and I want to change my font to, let's say, blue. Again, I'm doing all of these with keystrokes rather than the touchpad, rather than the mouse. So really just put in ones that I use a lot, put them near the edges or the far edge. So Option F10, I want to, let's say we want to remove this column here. So I know I showed you a way to hide it, but if I get in and I get into my remove column, I'm going to undo that with a Z. But so really think about what you want up in your toolbar. Let me walk you through the ones that I've chosen. So I've got the paste formatting. I've got my fill color because I do like to highlight cells for certain reasons, for usability. I've got my font color. I have a copy and paste format. I don't actually use that one a whole lot. Borders, let's show you that one in action. Well, we previously did our quick outline, but let me show you if I want let's just say for some strange reason I just wanted a left border on these cells. Well, Option F10, I'm in there, and I'm navigating around, and there we go, left border. I'm going to undo that. We've got our standard, new workbook, open a workbook, save as, very common. When I mentioned in our previous best practices, you often want to save your model as a different version. We've got our print area, page setup, print. I've got some various sortings and filters. I have that toolbox one, which I showed you earlier. There was actually a command to get in there. That was Control A. I've got my size, and again, these ones I have in the middle, I wouldn't use as often with just the keystrokes. I might be actually pointing up here and clicking on them. But once I get over to this right side again, those are easy for me to get to. So Option F10, I want to change my column width to 2 inches. Again, I just did that all just with some keystrokes. Likewise, let's go down to the bottom bar. So I want to change, I actually want to add a decimal place. Well, Option F10, Control Tab down, and I'm adding a decimal place. Option F10, Control Tab, do it again. So adding, removing decimals. These are some alignment ones, but again, we saw that there are other keystrokes for that. Changing font size. The macro buttons, I would probably never use keystrokes to get there, but as we know from one of our other modules, these 2 buttons, View Macro and Record Macro, are very useful when doing just our basic print macro. I've got group and ungroup. That's something that we looked at in the previous module, but let's just do a quick version here. I just want to maybe group these 2 columns so I can, here I'll do 1 and 1, and we'll make that a sum. And for some reason, let's say this was quarterly, and I only want to show the sum of the 2 quarters. Well, I'm going to group these. So Option F10, Control Tab, whoops, and I'm down, and I'm grouping columns. I actually did that with the keystroke Command C. It's often a good guess, Command and then the first letter. Well, and you can see we've now got something grouped. Well, let's go there and let's ungroup it. Option F10, Control Tab, and we're going to ungroup, Command C, our columns. Oh, and the grouping is gone. So just shows you how very important it is to customize your toolbars, and you can, like I said, from going to this customize, you can move things around, drag and drop, change the order. So put some time and thought into that. Look at these ones I've got. I also like to take a snapshot of my screen and save that as a file in case anything ever happened to my computer. I know how I had my toolbar set up. Well, that covers the best practice of speed, and we previously covered style.